Welcome back to How to Cake It. I'm Yolanda, and since we're gearing up for the summer edition of Camp Cake, I've decided to make a giant s'more cake. You know what you need? S'more. Please subscribe to this channel and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you'll know when I've baked a new cake. If you want to know more about Camp Cake and how you can bake with me live, there are more details in the description below. There are 3 elements to making a s'more, which I feel you should know: graham crackers, marshmallow, and chocolate. And I have to recreate them all out of cake and some big cookies. Let's start with my graham crackers. I recreate those by making a really sturdy cookie dough. I start by mixing some whole wheat flour and graham crumbs in a bowl. And then in a pot, I melted together butter, brown sugar, corn syrup, and honey. It smelled amazing, right, Jeremy? Add it to the How to Cake It scents. Once that mixture was fully melted and warm, I then carefully poured it into the center of my flour mixture, mixing it all up with a spoon till I couldn't stir anymore, and then I poured it out and kneaded the dough together. So once my dough was kneaded together, I divided it in 2 and wrapped it and let it sit for about half an hour. That was a lot of kneading, you know? Rest. It's like after a massage, right? You almost need to rest. Yes. I roll out my dough on a non-stick silicone mat and place a piece of parchment paper on top while I'm rolling. When I'm happy with the size, I cut out a giant square, and then I do this with the other half of the dough as well. I used a ruler and a set square to help me get my squares perfect, because you know I love rulers. Graham crackers usually have some sort of pricked holes and some perforation lines so that you can break them apart easily. I need to recreate this look on my giant graham crackers. For the holes, I'm using a piping tip, and I did use a ruler to measure and perfectly space them. And for the perforation line, I'm using a ruler. I just used one end of a really straight ruler pressed in to create that dotted line. I enjoyed doing that.
How much, Yo?
A lot. Because this dough is so sturdy and it has no leavening agents, it doesn't expand while baking. I bake them at 350 for about 25 minutes. When they're done, place them on a cooling rack to cool completely. Let's make this very official. The first element of a s'more are 2 graham crackers. The second element of a s'more is chocolate. I wanted my chocolate cake to end up looking like a piece of a chocolate bar, like a section of a chocolate bar. I recreate this by baking a square chocolate cake, and to create the grooves, I use a ruler and a serrated knife, and I divide my cake into 6 sections, just carving out sort of little V valleys. Once I was happy with the shape of my cake, or the indents in my cake, I then simple syruped it. That's right. Sir Squeeze, I'd be nothing without you. I will never let him go. Can we recreate the scene in Misery and like put what?
Oh my God!
Let's put Sir Squeeze in a bed and me. I think people will watch this.
I don't.
Once my chocolate cake is simple syruped and the syrup has soaked in, I then crumb coat it in chocolate ganache. Chocolate ganache. It's going to be very controversial when I leave this channel and become supermom. The crumb coat on my chocolate bar cake is set, so I'm going to ice it one more time in ganache. Now, it's a really simple shape, but it can be really annoying to ice in all the grooves and get them smooth as well as the sides, so just take your time. If you want any of the spatulas I've used or my red stabilizer, you can get them at howtocakeit.com. I've pre-made myself a batch of dark chocolate modeling chocolate and let it set up. I roll out my modeling chocolate nice and thin and then drape it over my chocolate cake. And the first thing I want to do is really smooth it into the grooves as well as along the top edge. Modeling chocolate is great to cover a cake, and I actually love the way it tastes, but it does set up faster than fondant. So you need to work quickly, especially if your cake underneath is cold. Just press down with a dowel into the grooves and really accentuate them. And I did it a bit along the sides of the grooves as well. That was a lot of chocolate. If you'd like to see a video where I make modeling chocolate from scratch, or you'd like to see me make my chocolate cake or ganache, there's a playlist right here. Ooh, it's a chocolatey playlist. Let's move on to the marshmallow. I feel like the marshmallow is Beyonce, the chocolate is Kelly, and the crackers are Michelle. Because sometimes they break.
The poor girl fell once and she's like... Beyonce has fallen.
Yeah, but when she falls, she acts like she didn't fall.
No, but...
Her hair once got caught in a fan. She didn't even break. Like, if that was me, I'd be like, ah! She was like this. She was like, and then meanwhile, her hair was being pulled into a fan. I'm just saying that Michelle wouldn't have done that. It's fine. You gotta have the yin and the yang. And the yang, apparently. To create my Beyonce-like marshmallow, I have baked 2 8-inch round vanilla cakes, and then I leveled them and cut the caramelization away from the bottom. I also cut the caramelization off the sides, and then I layered each cake into 2 layers. Now it's time to fill, oh my God, I almost forgot about Sir Squeeze. I left him on that chain to that bed, and I totally forgot. Once the syrup was fully absorbed, I filled my cake with Italian meringue buttercream, and are you ready for this? It's marshmallowception. I broiled a few mini marshmallows. Now that they're cool, I'm going to layer them between my cake on top of my buttercream. Spread them on top of my buttercream, and then add another layer of cake, more buttercream, more marshmallows. Now, you may have noticed I'm not stacking this cake perfectly. On purpose, which is really difficult for me, I'm just throwing the layers on because marshmallows melt and they ooze and they kind of get all like, that's exactly what they do.
Because you actually want it to be imperfect. You want it to
It
be
was imperfect.
You want it to be perfectly imperfect.
Yes. And then once I'm done, I'm gonna crumb coat the entire outside with more buttercream. Let's pause for a second. I wanna get back to Camp Cake. If you wanna make 2 incredible baking projects with me live, then head to howtocake.com and register for Camp Cake. We are making my taco cakes, which are in my upcoming cake book, and Sundae cupcakes. Jocelyn will be on camera, and I think I'm gonna make her do something. And Jeremy will be here too, so you'll hear some grunts behind the camera.
As usual.
So don't forget to sign up for Camp Cake at howtocake.com, and if you have participated before, leave a comment below with the hashtag CampCakeSquad. See how this hair does not cooperate?
No, but it fell perfectly.
It was good?
Yeah.
Oh, good. I've been talking to it. So where was I? I've crumb coated it. I need to ice my imperfect marshmallow cake once again with Italian meringue buttercream and chill it. Jeremy did not think that I ended up with an imperfect cake. It was imperfect, and then he tried to imply that it wasn't messy enough. Because I was making a marshmallow cake, I decided to make marshmallow fondant. And what you need to do is melt some mini marshmallows in the microwave. And as they melt, you can add a little bit of water, and I also like to add glycerin. This just keeps it a little bit shiny, a little bit softer. Once it's melted, you basically want to stir it into an entire heap of icing sugar. Icing sugar is the same thing as confectioner's sugar, is the same thing as powdered sugar. So whichever one of those you call it, it's fine. So once you can't stir anymore, you can turn it out onto your work surface with some icing sugar on the table and then knead it until it comes together. You want to make marshmallow fondant fairly close to when you want to use it. So you don't want to make it days and days ahead because it will harden. For my recipe of marshmallow fondant, you can head to my blog at howtocake.com, and I'll also put a link below. I want to do a marshmallow photo shoot.
What would that
I could just lie in like a whole bunch of marshmallows. They're really soft. It'd be amazing.
They are.
I roll the fondant out. It's about a little less than 1/4 inch thick. It is stickier than regular fondant, so I did put down a lot of icing sugar. And then I picked it up and draped it over my cake. Now, I don't want to cover this cake perfectly smooth, so what I did is I used my fingertips to sort of fold under the fondant. And I just want it to look oozy. That's how they look, right?
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Like when they melt, they're like, as I discussed before. This is real marshmallowception. Marshmallows inside a cake that looks like a marshmallow, covered in fondant made of marshmallows. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
My marshmallow cake is all covered. I want to place it in the fridge for about 20 minutes just to set up. And then I called in my friend Bernie. Before bruleeing my marshmallow fondant, I want to remove my cake from the cake board, which will burn. And now I'm going to burn my entire marshmallow cake. No need to burn the surface because I kind of want it to remain sticky so I can stick the graham cracker to it later, but all of the sides are going to be bruleed. And it's good if you burn it in different tones, so darker in some areas, lighter in some areas, because we all know, even though you try to roast a marshmallow perfectly, has anyone ever done it? If you've done it, leave a comment below and I would like some sort of proof. It's time to assemble the s'more. The first thing I do is take one of my giant graham crackers and place it upside down. So I put the chocolate just a little off. It was not perfectly centered, and I'm okay with that.
Are you though?
I am.
Okay.
I've made peace with that. Now I've just got to figure a way to pick it up and bite it. It was so hard to cut through. It was work. I wish I had a saw. If you want more food cakes, there's a playlist right here. And don't forget to subscribe right there. Thank you for watching, and I'll be back next Tuesday for my birthday episode. I'm gonna make my own birthday cake. Yay! Because nobody on the team feels like they should maybe step up and make a cake for me.